And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Tuesday, January 23rd. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Matt Belman. We're brought to you by Sleeper. We have had a very interesting day in the NBA, but not really from a DFS perspective. It was interesting in the morning when we got Terry Rozier traded to the Miami Heat. And then it became very interesting about an hour or two ago when we got Adrian Griffin fired from the Bucks and likely to be followed up by Doc Rivers. Insane day so far. Makes me a little nervous for what we get for the rest of the day, considering there isn't really a ton of news that we're worried about. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Doc Rivers to the Bucks, eh?
Yeah, I thought they made a great move. Well, I don't want to say great move. I'm never I don't ever love calling for people's jobs. I didn't think Griffin was the right fit. So kudos to the Bucks for nipping it in the bud early. I don't really understand the Doc Rivers move.
Nipping it in the bud. That's a pretty good bump for Mike Budenholzer.
Right. I'm not the biggest Doc Rivers fan. I'm not the biggest Doc Rivers hater either. I imagine that all this is being run through Giannis, who I don't know if you can trust his decision making, but the Bucks kind of have to. So
yeah, I think I can confidently say this. I don't think that I would want Doc long term, but he is going to organize this team better for a playoff run than Adrian Griffin was going to do. Just full stop.
Easily.
That experience is something that you need for a team that knows they're going to get into a tactical battle in multiple rounds of the playoffs. You just have to have it. If you can't waste Giannis years. So I don't think the Doc is the answer, but I know that Adrian Griffin wasn't. So I like it if it's a patch where he is going to get them through, if it goes well, maybe that's when you extend him. But I don't want to see that they just sign him for a 4-year deal, which I think is probably how this ends up happening.
I hope not to. I think he should only get that if they win the title this year. Then you're kind of forced to give him a deal like that. Yeah. Interesting to see what happens here, because I've heard this from numerous places that Doc Rivers likes his coaching staff, guys that have worked with him before, that know how to work under him. He is not getting that here. Now, he knows that too, and he's a guy with a ton of experience. So I think your point is valid. If nothing else, we know, or at least if you don't know, you should know that Adrian Griffin was not the guy. Doc Rivers might not be, but he's sure of a hell of a lot better for this team right now than Griffin. I'm with you.
You can't. You have Giannis, you have Dame, you have Chris Middleton, you have a structure in place of a team that can make the NBA Finals. You can't waste that on a rookie coach, not like this. So I mean, they made the mistake in the beginning of even doing it, but I think I applaud them for being able to recognize that they needed to rip that Band-Aid off right now. And this is not a team that wants to spend extra money paying Adrian Griffin for the next couple of years of coaching staff. Not that he was just I can't imagine he was a very expensive coach. But I know they don't want to be paying two of them at the same time. Certainly not paying Doc Rivers as the second one, who is clearly not coming in for a bag of balls or anything like that. He's going to get legitimate money. But, it doesn't affect a luxury tax payment or anything. So, coaching salaries are going to be a little bit different. But I think they made the right move. Michael Roundtree says, so why hire him? Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I also don't think they should have hired him.
Same. I almost want to take back my kudos and applause for them firing him, because they never should have hired him to begin with. I do give them credit for recognizing now, but silly to even kind of put him through this. The one thing that really stood out to me in the tweet that you sent, regarding all this, was the 14 for 14.
Yeah.
I think that's where that came from. That's crazy. And again, I hate shitting on people. I don't know Adrian Griffin. I'm sure he's a hell
I don't begrudge his personal life or anything like that. I can only evaluate the job that he did and the information that we have. I don't want him to lose his job. I mean, he'll get paid for it. So it's not like he's waking up without a paycheck tomorrow.
Certainly not. Yeah, and again, it was just a move that had to be done. And that's kind of, what do you think about the Rozier deal?
I like it for both teams, I guess. That Miami pick could be interesting. Lottery protected the first year, unprotected after that. If they can get anything for Kyle Lowry, even better. it's what the Hornets should have been doing for years now that they've just never done. It's to me, a nice, I don't blame Miami for making that pickup. Like they upgraded their offense for sure. It really didn't cost them a ton. They can still make another move. They can still trade their 2030 first round picks. So they still have more in their coffers if they need to go out and do something else. So I kind of like it for both teams.
Yeah, same. I do think Charlotte probably, well, definitely should have done this a year ago and gotten more, but it is what it is at this point. So makes a lot of sense for both teams. I think Rozier fits well there. It's not really a needle mover, but Miami's a contender as is, so it helps them.
And if you're getting the Terry Rozier from this year, he's been pretty good with a lesser cast around him.
Right.
If what he's done so far this season is real, I mean, he's having 58% true shooting. He had an off year last year, but plus 2.9.
He's having a career year.
Yeah, plus 2.9 offensive EPM. He's been in the 0.25 range, 3 of the last 4 years. You get him around league average from 3. What we saw this year with the big boost that he had, up to a 30% assist rate, which is 94th percentile in the league. They don't really have anybody setting the table. Like if he's willing to maybe dial back his usage a little bit, be a little bit more efficient, be a little bit more of that facilitator, I actually really do like that fit if that newfound assist rate is real. Now, defensively, he's awful, but you also have Bam Adebayo to erase those mistakes now. That's going to help a bit.
It seems a little redundant with Hero to me, but at the end of the day, talent is talent. And if you can add more talent without giving up really anything, you're usually better off making that move.
Yeah, they unequivocally made an upgrade to what Kyle Lowry is now.
Sure.
And I don't think that is really costing them all that much. So I don't mind. Yeah, Andrew Jennison said, isn't Terry like a 5th percentile defender, though? Yeah, he's not going to be great shakes. It's happening at a position where you can have that happen. The problem will be the Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero backcourt. But, if you make sure you have one of those guys on the floor at all times, Terry Rozier is like a 30-minute a game guy, you can get, you have 18 minutes of Tyler Hero on the floor at the rest of the time. I think you can mitigate that to a degree.
Same. And I don't think he's going to all of a sudden become like a great defender, but I wouldn't be surprised going into the Heat system coming from Charlotte, where there's clearly not a ton of structure. Yeah. It's not like Rozier isn't athletic enough. So wouldn't be surprised to see him take a step up in his D. Otherwise, he won't play as much as he wants to.
At this point, they just don't have any alternatives. They're going to have a playoff rotation of Rozier, Richardson, Hero, Hawkes, Butler, Martin, Bam. There's 7 right there that are going to eat a ton of minutes. Circle in one other of those wings, your Haywood Highsmiths or something like that. Duncan Robinson, who is going to wax and wane in the playoffs. There's going to be some series where he gets played clean off. There's going to be some series where he is very reliable. It will depend on matchups there, but they got a guy now that they can count on a little bit more to create offense in a situation where, on the season, Miami is 21st in offensive rating, 11th in defensive rating. I think he has an easier time helping their offense and won't have the same sort of negative effect to their defense.
Yeah, agreed. We see this pretty much eye to eye.
Yeah. It's worth the shot. I don't hate the asset play that they made, but hell of a day for the NBA. Didn't expect that for a random Tuesday in January.
Coming off a crazy night also.
Yeah, absolute insanity. Shout out to Eric Lindquist. He got all of the good information on the NBA Deeper Dive yesterday and was able to use that information to take down the fadeaway with 7 of his favorite friends. I believe it was 7, but I believe every bit of that information came from me. So I'm very happy. Maybe you could run as hot as he did.
Let's hope so one day. Yeah, congrats to him for sure. That is crazy though. Big chop in such a big field tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those plays were just pretty straightforward plays though, and ain't nothing wrong with chopping for 30K.
Yeah, and when you get to, it was what, Luka pay up and Embiid pay up, and then it had Cat. At that point in time, you're kind of And this isn't like
Right.
an indictment, just like what this is why this happens and why you see the chop. You start to funnel into a very specific set of roster construction that you can get to after that because salary limits your range of who you can actually put in your lineup. So you're drawing from a very narrow pool of these are the value guys that you could actually play and they still fit salary wise. So that's sort of why something like that happens on a day where you even have like a bigger slate.
For sure. I mean, once you plug in Luka and Embiid, you got really one other spot to go to before like the rest of your lineup starts funneling the same. I'm with you.
Yep. Yeah. So kudos, Eric, man. That's chop,
Yeah.
no chop. No one cares when you wake up and you've got an extra
Right.
30 grand.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, haters will always hate, but no one cares with you.
Yeah. Very lucky to get the old Jonte Porter poke in the eye. Don't really play much after that. That one was. And now we get the DraftKings cheater himself, Sean Jeezy, in the house with the super chat. Took down the $4.20 max and the 10K mini max on DraftKings last night. Got lots of good info from both of you on the shows last night. Much appreciated. This dude just goes in on the back end somehow. I believe he works for DraftKings and changes his lineups as we're going along. Or he uses our NBA Sims package, which you can get at stokastic.com/join. It's one of those two things for sure. Maybe it's the latter. But congrats again, man. It's just assume, can we, Jordan, after this, like maybe tomorrow if we have some free time, can we just record a video that congratulates him for his success on the day before and we just play that every time it happens? Because it's getting old saying the same thing every day. We'll work on that this week. No. I don't want to do the Hall of Fame. I just want to record like 15 seconds of me thanking him so I don't have to do it every day when he wins the Minimax. Just keep winning the Minimax and stay the hell away from the fadeaway. Congrats to them, man, for sure. And thanks for that super chat. You ready to break this one down?
Yeah, let's get after it. 5 good games.
Denver Nuggets, 5.5-point favorites in Indianapolis, taking on the Pacers. Denver is just sort of themselves for today. Nothing weird going on from a rotation standpoint. We're just kind of getting the Denver Nuggets. The opposite side of this game, slightly different. Tyrese Halliburton is out and will be out for what looks like the next 3 games. We are waiting on a Q tag for Isaiah Jackson, which is sort of important for a 5-game slate, but maybe not. And then we're getting a Q tag on Andrew Nembhard, which will be very important for the slate. But we're going to start on the Denver side. About 15% ownership to Aaron Gordon, about 15% to Jamal Murray, about 15% to Nikola Jokic. Very little coming in elsewhere. If you're playing on FanDuel, there is 15% coming into KCP. Let's start with the big man, 11,200 for Nikola Jokic. He is the most expensive play on today's slate, $1,000 more expensive than AD, $1,200 more expensive than Shea, and then you don't have anybody all the way until you get to $8,700 Brunson. So we have 3 pay-ups. How do you feel about Jokic?
I love Jokic here, but the problem is the other guys you talked about, specifically Davis with no LeBron. And then also, we don't have other spend-ups outside those guys, but Brunson and Randall, there's a lot of guys between like 7 and 9K that look really good that are probably underpriced. So I like Jokic a lot, just not sure he's a priority on this slate, considering our other options. Ownership kind of tells that story. That said, it's Jokic against the Pacers. Like, am I going to be mad if I end up on him? No, he's got slate breaking upside, certainly in this spot. He looks great. Just not sure he looks $1,000 better than Davis specifically. Murray intrigues me. All these guys are coming in with nice leverage, which is always nice to see, especially in a good spot against Indiana. Murray is one of those guys in the 7 to 9K range, 8,400, a little bit more expensive than he's been, but he's certainly got upside here. I don't really want to mess with like the cheaper Nuggets. I mean, Aaron Gordon is under 6K, so he's fine, but just a fill-in for me. It's more, do I get to Jokic or Murray? How do you see it?
I'm getting to Jokic and I'm getting to Murray. I have them both right now in 24% of my stuff. So I am a little bit over the field on both of these guys. I love that. Those are the guys that I would want to be over on in a matchup against the Pacers. We've seen their minutes ramping up a little bit lately too. So that makes me feel good. And then I'm neutral to the field on Aaron Gordon right now. 5,900 power forward. Like I said, his minutes have been ramping up a little bit. I've got him in for 34. We have him in for 33. He's like a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy, but 27th ranked Pacers defense, 4th in pace. Like, they're going to play up and down, and they're not going to be very good at stopping people from doing that. And if I'm going to be getting to people from Denver, I want it to be that starting five, and in particular Murray and Jokic. So for right now, that's breaking correctly. I don't have a single share of anybody else. Obviously, I wouldn't mind if I got to MPJ, but it doesn't appear to be happening, and the public's not getting there either.
Yeah, Denver, as you kind of said at the beginning, is just there. Like the plays that are they're good players are in play, but no like core building blocks for me here.
No. The only core building block that you would be here would be like anybody can want to have Nikola Jokic in everything they do, and no one would be like, "Oh, you went to Jokic today?"
No, but I would counter that by saying like if you do that, then like
yeah.
who are you not playing? You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I'm with you. Like if you just want to play Jokic everywhere, do it. He's against the Pacers. It's freaking Jokic, but like you also have to think about it in the context of okay, if I play Jokic, who am I not playing?
It's funny. I woke up thinking like, oh man, Jokic on the slate. None of the other like major pay ups are there. I wonder if he wakes up thinking like, you know what, I want to go for that big game too. And then I thought to myself, I was like, he might wake up and not even know Embiid did that.
Right. Yeah.
So not the kind of guy that's going to be like hoping to run that one down. And then we get to Indiana. So as of right now, the only guy on DraftKings that's in double digits of ownership is TJ McConnell at 14%. He is 5,500. It's single digits to everybody else. Now, FanDuel is different. We've got about 20 to Aaron Nesmith, 25 to a $4,700 Andrew Nembhard, about 15 to Benedict Mathurin, another 15 to Pascal Siakam. So playing Indy as of right now is very different across both sites. And we don't know what we're doing here yet anyway, because the status of Andrew Nembhard changes TJ McConnell from guy that you can just play pretty normally for, about 15% of your lineups to guy you probably want to get a lot of if he doesn't happen to be in. How are you seeing this relation? Like, do you have any expectations for Nembhard? Do you even care since it's a 7:00 game? What do you want to do with this Pacers team in general?
I feel like it's a fool's errand to even care unless you have some inside info. Like we're going to know. I have no idea personally. So the way I look at it, it's kind of exactly how you said it. If he's out, McConnell is probably the best play on the slate. You just play him and move on. If he's in, all these guys look similar to how McConnell does now that, we're projecting Nembhard to be in. So they're all playable, but it's not really a good spot. There's other better spots on this slate. If Nembhard happens to be in, I don't think anyone on Indiana is a priority. If he's out, it's McConnell, and then everyone else looks slightly better, but not really enough to make them priorities for me. How about you?
So right now I have 14% McConnell, exact same as the field, and not a single share of everybody else, which I don't totally hate. We're talking about a Denver team that's the second slowest team in the league. They're obviously like an organized, they're not like an exceptional defense, but they're an organized team. These are a starting five that just plays together all the time. So they're 13th in defense. It's not a good spot for Indy in any way. The only thing that's saving them is that it's not in Denver. But I'm with you. Like, I'm assuming Nembhard is in. Right now, I'm splitting their minutes 24-24. And that is not getting me to really much else. I do think the guy that's getting slept on the most here is Pascal Siakam. On a 5-game slate, he's 4% owned, and Tyrese Halliburton is out. 7,800 power forward center. Like, I don't disagree with our optimal rates. I don't disagree with our projections. Like, it all looks normal. But I look at him, and it's just like 5-game slate, new team. Like, does he just take over? Could he just soak up 30% usage today because Tyrese Halliburton's not around and this is just like his team? We're talking about a guy that is an all NBA level basketball player. For him to be 4% owned at a price tag that isn't all that crazy, it just makes me feel like he's the key to a GPP with no ownership.
I think he could be, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it before from him. So, like, that's not going out on a crazy limb, and I'm with you with the ownership. I think that for me, and I could be completely off on this, like, Halliburton being out certainly, like, helps his usage, etc., because they can need to hit the ball in his hands more. But the end of the day, Halliburton's so good. He's going to create so many easy baskets for Siakam. They're going to be playing at a faster pace. Like, ultimately, how much does Halliburton out help Siakam? I do think, like, on a game-by-game basis, though, his upside rises because, like you said, he's just going to have the ball in his hands more. So I like it, like, for one slate. I'm with you.
Yeah, like, if this were, like, a 9-game slate, I wouldn't even feel the need to shout it out. But on a 5-gamer, like, he's the best player on the team. And we're just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with it. I don't have any of him, but it's the guy that I look at. Like, I kind of just wish I did.
yeah, I mean, the other part about this is like Zion is much cheaper than he normally is. He's
Yeah.
7,400 pulling like 8 times the ownership as Siakam, who's 400 more. Like, give me Siakam at 8 to 1 odds. This
Yeah.
outscore
If you build
Zion
like a
like all
chalky
day.
lineup that has Zion, like,
Right.
I like the idea of finding $400 in that lineup and pivoting those two guys. Like, to me, that feels like like, I don't think those guys should be 30 to 4 in ownership. That's nuts.
And for me, Zion feels like the Mikal Bridges play we talked about a couple weeks ago, where like he's
Agreed.
at his lowest price. But there's plenty of other guys like that tonight. Like
Yeah.
Zion's not the only, like Siakam, you can make the argument is that guy tonight. So
Yeah.
I don't think Zion is the must play that the public has him out to be personally.
So we'll see what happens with that Nemhard McConnell news. But yeah, like I said, Miles Turner's pulling 7% ownership. I wouldn't mind having any shares of him. I don't. Buddy Hield looks like he's going to play 30 minutes, but he's kind of at his peak for salary right now. Mathurin is sort of like a lesser version of Siakam to me today, where you wouldn't be surprised. Like, if he gets cooking, I think he's just going to be out there to continue shooting and play his way into 28, 29. Like, there's enough playing time to go around for the Pacers with Halliburton out that Mathurin can get hot and look a lot better at 5,200 with that guard forward eligibility. But that's not as actionable. I mean, he's 1% owned. Aaron Nesmith is 2% owned. There's just not a lot of love coming into Indy, and I think that's just recognizing how tough of a defensive, not a defensive, of a DFS matchup playing Denver is, and really bringing that pace down for the matchup.
And there's so many other good plays on this slate. So even for a 5-gamer, there's a lot of good options. So Indiana's far down the pecking order for me.
Yeah, we got to hit Sean Jeezy's super chat. Another one. I said, on a serious note, what do you think about Walker and Ben Shepherd? They seem to be getting real rotation minutes now. Is that just Carlisle nonsense, or is it actionable? I think the Shepherd, I think the minutes are real. I'm not so sure they're real enough to matter today. Like, I've Ben Shepherd for 14 minutes, which is like a solid backup rotation. He's 3,100. He's also been at 6.64 fantasy point per minute dude so far this season. So really hard to want to get him up against Denver. And it's going to be a similar situation for Walker. And he's sort of blocked from anything big with just who's ahead of him. Like, it's not like unless Siakam is injured, Walker's going to have a hard time playing his way into too many minutes. So I like the idea. I just don't know. I don't know if there's enough there.
Yeah, I guess that if Nemhard's out, you would give Shepherd a bump. He might be the guy that gets the biggest bump, but I don't know. Not sure how much it's needed on this slate. And I'm huge on Jarius Walker. We've talked about him numerous times now, but
yeah,
I don't think you can play him on this particular slate personally.
I agree. All righty. Anything else for the Pacers?
No, that's it.
This one's very easy, folks. Schedule for the rest of the day. There's an NBA Live Before Lock show coming up after this at 6 p.m. So if you want to stick around, you don't have to leave this stream. All you have to do to get the NBA Live Before Lock stream is hit the like button on this one. If you don't do that, then the stream just goes away and you won't be able to watch NBA Live Before Lock. It's that simple. So hit that thumbs up so you can see our next show. That's just it for the rest of the day. Don't forget golf locks tomorrow. So if you care about that, we had a golf show earlier today. Make sure you're watching that and prepping for PGA for tomorrow. You should also, while you're doing all of that, grab our avatar, go to stokastic.com/avatar, get our logo and use it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, Owner's Box. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest that has 5,000 or more entries, you can get 1 month of whatever you want at Stokastic. I assume that would be our NBA Sims tool. That's going to get you projections, ownership, the boom bust tool, lineup generator, contest generator, the Sims tool itself. You could hop into premium Discord. All of that just to do something that costs you no money. Totally free. You just have to use our logo and then tweet at Stokastic HOF. We want to show off what you did. Show us your lineup. Show us the contest you were in. We want to let everybody know how well you did, and we want people to see our avatar at the top. So go to stokastic.com/avatar or click the link in description or in chat. The New York Knicks in the Battle of New York. 4-point favorites taking on Brooklyn, 223 total. We got news earlier today. that the Knicks center rotation is thinning out. Now, Isaiah Hartenstein is technically questionable right now. We're going to put that out there. However, it is assumed that he is not playing, and the general consensus across the industry is that he is not in any sort of projections. We also saw that they anticipate starting Jericho Sims, not Precious Achiuwa, which again, I think is the assumption across the industry. We are seeing 34% ownership coming into the not starting Precious Achiuwa, 20 to Julius Randle, 15 to Jalen Brunson, and another 13 to Josh Hart. So let's start with the centers. Assuming Sims starts, we're getting Precious off the bench. Sims is a $3,500 center, projected for precisely 0 ownership. Precious Achiuwa is $4,200, power forward center, and getting a bunch of love. What do you want to do with these guys?
I don't like the Precious ownership, but he's still coming in with a ton of leverage in our tools. So, like,
yeah,
I'm going to play him at 4,200. If he was only center eligible, my stance on that would probably change. But the power forward eligibility, like, I just don't see a scenario in which Sims plays a ton here. We've seen this story before. We've read this story before where Sims starts and plays a handful of minutes, but I think Precious is going to be that guy. It does make me like Randall, though, that much more. Not that
Hartenstein. I had a bunch of him earlier.
Not that like Hartenstein is a big usage guy, but he eats a lot of rebounds. Like Randall could be the Randall could be the center tonight while he's playing power forward, just doing everything inside. So Randall is up there as one of my favorite plays on the slate. Precious looks like one of the best value plays. I like Brunson a lot, but I like Randall slightly more. You can easily play both of them, but then it's back to the Jokic question. Like if you're playing both of them, you're not playing other guys. How do you see it?
So right now I've got a big stand on Precious. He's in half of my stuff, even at 34% ownership. And I think I'm light on him. Andrew Nembhard available to play, which sucks. Isaiah Jackson also available to play. I really wanted Nembhard out just to make my life easier. So that's annoying. Anyway, back to Precious. Yeah, I'm getting there. And I tried to be pessimistic. I went 25 minutes. I went 21 to Jericho Sims. I think they're live to go to like 2 minutes of small ball with Julius Randle now too. And S&P talked about that with me on the process show this morning, or maybe that was a strategy show. I don't know for sure, but they can go a little smaller now with OG as a bigger defender instead of having like RJ Barrett out there. But for Precious, that 4,200, it's the power forward eligibility. We have him in for a little over 27 minutes. So we're 2 minutes heavier than me, and I'm still over the field on him. So I feel really good about getting to Precious. 40% optimal rate, 34% ownership, positive 6.6 leverage. Like I'm very happy getting there. I expect this to look the same way that it normally looks for the Knicks, where you see Jericho Sims get like 3 rotations as the starter, but Precious Achiuwa is live to play like the bulk of the minutes as the 5. But I'm with you on Randall. I had a lot more this morning, and I wouldn't mind having more. But right now, I'm right at the field with him and with Brunson. So I'm not too mad. Like I am getting Brunson and Randall. It's just like Denver. I'm getting the 2 pieces I want to get from New York. I'm not getting the Josh Hart piece. I'm not broken up about that. I thought I was going to get the OG Anunoby piece, but that hasn't happened. That man is not playing well from a DFS perspective in New York, but is playing well as a member of the New York Knicks. Are you seeing anything else here? Any DiVincenzo? Do you like Hart, Anunoby? Like, is there anything else here that you're looking at for the Knicks?
I think Hart's a fine filler. Anunoby is a strictly like GPP tournament play at this point for me right now. Hart's price tag just puts him in play.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, the balance between Brunson and Randall is interesting to me. I like Randall slightly more, but so does the field. And for me, it's a lot of positionality. You know, that's the main factor. There's some good point guards on this slate. Brunson's one of the better ones, but you've got D'Angelo Russell, Jamal Murray in his price range, Austin Reeves, etc. The ability to roster Randall at so many different positions just makes him more desirable to me. And this is not like, once you get past Jokic, you can easily play Randall at center tonight.
Yep. Without a question. There's just, I mean, he's the next most expensive center. No, well, no, you got AD too. But yeah, I mean, it's Jokic. You save $1,000, you go to AD. Next center you're getting to is $8,600 Julius Randle if you want him there. So you got a lot of options. It's a lot of pay down centers too. I mean, Christian Wood's getting love. Obviously, Precious Achiuwa can get played there. Mason Plumlee's getting some love. Yeah, I got a lot of Plumlee right now, which is gross. But what are you going to do? Ultimately, I think the summary for the Knicks is if you're a Brunson or Randall fan, by all means, they do look good as the two stars of the Knicks, but Precious Achiuwa is a value play you got to pay attention to. Oh, that's not how you type Brooklyn's name. Brooklyn Nets. Now, they're a little different. 23% ownership coming into a $6,800 Nick Claxton. We have him pretty negatively leveraged. I'm curious to get your thoughts there. 14% ownership coming into Spencer Dinwiddie, another 10 to Mikal Bridges. I have a pretty sizable stand on Dinwiddie right now, which is not exciting me in any way, given how bad he's been. I'm also getting to Claxton. So I have a decent enough chunk of both sides of this game, and it's in the dudes that I would want it to be in. So if there's going to be any sort of like game stacking that I'm doing for Knicks and Nets, it's happening with their best dudes.
Which is always how you'd want it if it's going to work out that way.
Yeah.
I think Dinwiddie, or I know Dinwiddie is my favorite piece of Brooklyn. I hate saying that, but he's really cheap for his median projection and his upside. So again, coming in neutral in the boom bust tool, 15% chance of being optimal, a little bit less than that for ownership, like 14.5. So I like him a lot. Claxton, to me, is not a guy that I'm going to get to. Like, I don't think he's a bad play. It's not a price point I'm interested in going with it and going to him with. Like, there's other guys, Jalen Williams specifically, Brandon Ingram, who we'll get to. I like the idea of either spending down on center or using one of those, using an AD or Randall in that spot. I don't think I'm going to get to Claxton. He does seem like a good play on paper, though, if you're getting to that price range.
I didn't expect to be getting him. You know, like he looks great to me as like a per minute dude. You know, he's a 1.15 guy. The center rotation is clearly his. He's playing, you know, in and around 32 minutes a night. We saw 31 last time out, 33 the game before that, 32 the game before that. I think a 32-minute projection for Claxton looks fine. We have him at 31.7. So I seem to be in lockstep there. You know, a solid double-double guy. Matchup is obviously better now that you're getting the third string center and fourth string center for the Knicks. Did I expect to be taking a stand on Nick Claxton against the Knicks today? I certainly didn't, but something is driving him into my lineups. And at 6,800, I don't mind it too much. I mean, like the center position is just kind of weird today. It's not the way that it normally looks because you have those pay up options, and then it's kind of just a jumbled mess of everybody else up and down the range, whether you want to go cheap, mid-tier, that upper 7K, 8K tier. What do you want to do with Bridges? 7,500, shooting guard, small forward, just sitting in that same range that he always is.
Just back to Claxton real quick. Your point about like the matchup being better now is it kind of slipped my mind when I was talking about him. Obviously, I knew it. It does make him look better here. I wonder if that's pushing up his ownership, you know, and his projection. But if it is, it makes sense because he's in a better spot now. I mean, New York doesn't really have a real center to put on him. Not that he's like an offensive force or anything, but should just be easier for him to do work inside.
Yeah.
Bridges, it's hard for me to get to Bridges on this slate. Someone who plays minimal lineups. Talked about a couple other guys who I like significantly more than Bridges, and Brandon Ingram and Jalen Williams. You can't play everyone.
Yeah.
Bridges is coming in with decent leverage, 11% chance of being optimal, 9.5% ownership. He has, so right now, I think that Bridges is fairly priced, if not slightly overpriced for his median projection, but has a ton of upside on any given night.
Yeah. Like 11% optimal, 10% owned. That is exactly where I see him for today.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy if you're playing a chunk of lineups, like, you know, if you have 10 lineups, you probably have one or two of Bridges, and you just kind of say like, hopefully today's the day. It's the flexibility, really. 7,500 guard forward, only a 5-game slate. It's the kind of guy you're happy to have in a lineup. You just don't need a lot of it.
No, and I talked about how I like Jalen Williams more. Well, so does the field because he's getting 30% ownership, and that's, you know, half the DFS battle, right? So like, yeah, I like, so quote unquote, like Jalen Williams more, but that doesn't mean he's a better play tonight than Mikal Bridges. So I'm with you. There are certainly points to play Bridges tonight.
Anybody else for Brooklyn? There's no ownership coming into these guys.
No, nothing here.
All righty, we'll keep it moving. To the puzzle known as the Utah Jazz. We did get news earlier today. Chris Dunn is questionable with an illness, and I assume Keontae George would get the start over Dunn, but it could legitimately be anything at this point. Their rotations are so weird now. We do have quite a bit of ownership coming into Colin Sexton, 6,200 point guard, shooting guard, has just been a revelation over the past month, 1.35 DraftKings points per minute. Big usage, big assist rate, big negative leverage number. So I am a little bit underneath that 29% ownership, but I'm happy to have him in this spot. And then you just get this sea of dudes from 10 to 15% owned. John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, Kelly Olynyk, Chris Dunn, Lauri Markkanen, Simone Fontecchio. They're all within the same sort of ownership range. Some negatively leveraged, like Fontecchio. Some not so negatively leveraged, like Lauri Markkanen. Or potentially, if you want to go to a Walker Kessler, who's basically unowned. Do you like anything here from Utah? Because I feel like everybody could like a piece or two from Utah, and everybody can be on different pieces of Utah.
Yeah, man, when I like first looked at this slate, I had really liked Sexton, and I still like him a lot, but the ownership's there. And like, I get it. He should probably be a little bit more expensive with his recent performances, but it also feels a little chasey to like just be locking in Sexton now because he's played well in the past, like what, 4 or 5 games. He's played well prior to that also, but his fantasy scores have really boomed in the past like 5 games or so. So I like Sexton a lot. I'm not happy the ownership's there. There are plenty of other good guards on this slate. So I don't think he's a must play, but I also don't think you don't have to not play him because of the ownership. There's plenty of other places to go to get, lesser ownership. So certainly he's my favorite if we're just talking about like one guy price and, ownership agnostic. So give me Sexton here. Clarkson is more of a tournament play for me, but a nice pivot off of Sexton, or you can play them together. Markkanen is interesting to me, kind of in the same realm that Siakam is interesting to me.
Yeah, I like that. Pulling a little bit more ownership, but it's the same sort of situation where like he's the best dude on this team. If he goes out there and has his type of game, he's at 1.39 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. That's the highest rate of anybody on Utah. He is the star of the Utah Jazz. To see him go out there on a 5-game slate and give the Pelicans the business would not be all that surprising at all. I'm very curious to see, like, if Chris Dunn doesn't play, because he's 3,900 guard forward eligibility, 12% owned. That's matching his optimal rate. Do you think Keontae George moves into the starting lineup? And if he does, are you interested in a $4,300 Keontae George?
It's hard to speculate on what they're going to do just because, like you said, we just have no idea. But yeah, if I had to put in one guess, I would say it's George. And at that price point, I'm definitely interested. We're not short on value plays. So again, like, I don't think you have to play him, but certainly just his price tag alone and what he can do for your roster construction puts him in, high value type territory as far as how he goes on this slate.
I'm going to put this out there now. I'm not going to be proud of it if it happens, but I think that it might happen if Dunn is out. I think THT gets the start.
Wow. It's been a minute for him.
He has not played in the past 8 games, and he only got blowout run in the game before that. He has basically not played in a month. But I think they really like their current set of rotations. I think they like that second unit, the way that it's set up, and I don't know if they'd want to break it up. We're talking about Chris Dunn starting right now and playing about 20 minutes a night. If you're moving someone into the rotation, I think they might just move THT into that Dunn role. He plays about 20, and Keontae George continues to play with that second unit instead of randomizing their entire team to what it hasn't been over this run where they've been good. I think they kind of approach it the same way the Knicks approach their center rotation.
Yeah. I was thinking about that.
And to be clear, I assume I don't like him at all, but I'm guessing he's the flat min. I haven't even looked.
20 minutes at 3K. Like,
he is the flat min.
Yeah. He's a guy that can put up fantasy points. Again, I don't think he's going to play a ton of minutes. I don't think you have to play him, but all of a sudden, if it works out that way. Like, the other thing is, if we don't get this news until this game's at 8, 2 games locked before that, and another game locks at 8. So I don't think as many people would be on him as if we got that news now, especially because I don't think many people are thinking that either.
No. And like, it's not as if I'm going to be confident in doing that, but I see what Utah is doing with their rotations, and it just feels like the perfect opportunity to like not upset the apple cart.
Yeah, I'm with that.
And like, I definitely
You
don't
made the
want to
Thad
see
Young
it.
call also. Like in the same.
I don't want to see at 7:31 that this happens. Like, I don't want him. I don't want to roster him. It's not going to be a fun experience. It's going to be awful. I just see it happening that way.
Reminds me a
And
lot of
Josh
Thad Young
Gillum,
from the other
yes,
day.
Josh Gillum, Dunn is a low usage player, 13.5% usage on the season, but we won't let those silly facts get in the way. And S&P is also bringing up a good point. If that's the case and THT is in the starting lineup, is that a negative for Sexton? Yeah, I think it would be. I think that would be a slight reduction in his usage.
Agreed.
I just wanted to put it out there. This is not me advocating aggressively for it, but it does make sense for what they're doing. Do you like anything else for Utah?
No, I think you're like your Walker Kessler call at 5K. Nice leverage with him. Risky for sure, but another guy. We've seen him have massive upside at this price point, so wanted to call him out, but certainly no other priorities at all.
Well, the New Orleans side, generally a pretty easy team to talk about. You got three real players, a wing or two that may or may not show up in some lineups, and then you kind of call it a day. 30% ownership coming into Zion, 20 to CJ McCollum, and 10 to Brandon Ingram. It's even bigger numbers on FanDuel. For those playing on FanDuel, though, 30% ownership coming into Herb Jones. I'm pretty neutral to Zion. I'm pretty neutral to CJ. I'm not getting to Brandon Ingram, which I don't like because of his position and price, but he's also got Mikal Bridges sitting there as like basically the same play today, same price-ish, same position-ish. Well, yeah, not even ish, same position. What do you want to do here with the Pelicans? Are you seeing Zion as a guy that you can get away from? Big -7 leverage.
Yeah, I can get away from Zion. I don't think you have to get away from him. His ownership and optimal is like the exact same as Sexton. So you can certainly play these guys, but you don't want to play all guys like that. I think Ingram is my favorite play on the slate, though. Just with the lack of ownership and his high optimal percentage. Like, again, when I see a player of Ingram's, skill getting this much leverage, when I think his price is too low, I'm going to be all over a guy like that. So, yeah, New Orleans is healthy. Zion is also too cheap. McCollum is too cheap. But at the end of the day, Ingram's their best player, and he has massive upside at this price. He's in good form right now. I like all of New Orleans, but Ingram is my favorite.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I wish that he was in my lineups. I don't have him. He's got a great leverage score. I am slightly under our projection. Like we have him at 39. I have him at 37.7. So it's not like a huge gap. Something is causing him to not show up in my lineups, but I am getting to Zion and CJ. But I mean, we saw Brandon Ingram have a pretty big game, 2 or 3 games ago, something like that. He really broke out, had a monster. It's not fun to not get to that piece. I just have to watch the Pelicans and like hope he doesn't succeed.
And there's so many other good plays on this slate. Like, again, he only has a 17% chance of being optimal. So 83 whatever percent of the time he's not going to be. He looks a lot to me like Kawhi Leonard, who's also not getting as much ownership as he should be, but he's $1,000 cheaper. I like Ingram a lot, but Zion and McCollum also look really good here.
Do you like anything else for the Pelicans? Because they seem like a pretty easy team to talk about.
Yeah, no, I don't want any of the fringe Pelicans at all.
All right. Hit that like button, folks. Sleeper wants you to do it. And remember, you got to do that to be able to see NBA live before lock. If you sign up for Sleeper using the link that is in the description of this video or the one that Jordan drops into chat, you can sign up and get up to $500 on your first deposit. That is a bonkers deal. To be able to get a deposit match up to $500, it's the perfect way to do it. Get as much of a bonus as you can. I tell you guys this all the time. If you're playing on pick'em sites like some of their competitors, you can take advantage of this deal. Figure out which site you like, then deal with your money afterwards. But get these deals now while they exist. You can win up to 100x payouts. It's the biggest in the DFS industry. They also have dynamic payouts, which means some of these props that you take might be like 2x or 3x, and that's how you can get up to an 100x payout. It's not just static, even on both sides, no matter what you put in. You can get better lines on Sleeper and build up a bigger card trying to get that 100x payout, if that's the shot that you want to take. They've got baseball and basketball and football, everything that you're used to seeing. You could also grab some extra plays on Odds Shopper if you want to. Minimum deposit's $20, but if you sign up today, you can take advantage of their free square. That is going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. More than 0.5 points. You just need him to get one bucket and you're good to go. One free throw and you're going to be good to go. So it feels pretty good. These free squares are the perfect way to lower your rake, offset some of the cost of playing at a site. They're not going to make you rich with free squares. They don't give you enough opportunity to put enough money down, but it will help lower the costs associated with playing. Just sign up, folks. Link in the description. 2 to go. Portland Trailblazers, 2 touchdown underdogs in Oklahoma City, 233 total. Not too much going on here in this one. Moses Brown out, Shaden Sharp out, Robert Williams out. No, that's not crazy news. We've got 20 to 25% ownership coming into I'm on the OKC side. We've got no ownership coming. I just immediately skipped Portland because I knew they sucked. I immediately went to the OKC talking points. Highest owned dude on Portland, 7% owned Malcolm Brogdon. It's 10% to Simons on FanDuel. I have 2 shares of Brogdon. We have these guys as like slightly positive leverage, but we also have Malcolm Brogdon at 9% optimal. No one even made 10% on a 5-game slate. Do you find yourself wanting to get to any of Portland?
No. And it's more to do with the other plays on this slate than Portland themselves. Like Simons is probably a little, well, he's definitely too cheap for his upside at 7,300, but there's so many other good guard plays. Like he's certainly not a priority. And I could go on. I think it's, basically the same for all the other Portland players. They're GPP flyers because they all have upside, but in any given lineup, it's hard to prioritize anyone from the Blazers, at least for me.
All right, we're on the exact same page. Let's talk about a team that's actually looking interesting today. Obviously, the matchup for OKC is fantastic, and you're seeing it in the ownership. 20 to Chet, 25 to Jalen Williams, 20 to SGA, 10 to Giddey. Who stands out most to you from Oklahoma City? Because they are in for a very nice spot.
Yeah, we just saw this spot. They won by like 80 points a couple weeks ago.
Yes, they did.
They all were great. Jalen Williams is my favorite. Been consistently over 7K for a while now. Now all of a sudden he's in the mid 6K range. Like maybe I'm just a sucker for that price tag. I'm a huge Jalen Williams fan. He's getting negative leverage, but we talk about this a lot. Like the ownership of one player, it's just not really going to move the needle for me at all. There's so many ways to get different, not by just guys who you play, but by guys you don't play. So like, there's just so many ways to get different. I don't care about the ownership of one guy. Yeah, Jalen Williams looks great for me here. Shai also looks elite. If you can get to Shai, probably a little too cheap at 10K. He just is in the Anthony Davis range. You got Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. Not sure I'll get to Shai with the confidence that I am, and I'll get to Williams, but he looks great. And then Chet, I was thinking about Chet when we talked about Claxton. I'd rather play Chet. Claxton's a little bit cheaper. I get it. Chet's coming in with lower ownership, so I prefer Chet in that spot.
I'm 2xing Chet right now, 44% to the 22% ownership. I'm neutral to Jalen Williams. I don't care about that negative leverage at all. This is just a spot where he should smash these guys. And then I'm a little bit over on Shai as well, 28%. He's 20% owned. So I'm getting the 3 dudes that I want to get from OKC. Seems to be a prevailing theme for me across these games. I have a little bit of Giddey. I got a little bit of Dort at 3%. I'm not getting any of the like OKC bench scrubs that normally happen. But I'm with you on Chet. I saw something earlier today that it's not changing the way that I'm making my lineups, but it certainly makes me feel better about Chet. Kirk Goldsberry made a post of like a heat map of the efficiency for Portland's defense, basically like tiny little blocks across all of the 3-point line, everything inside the paint, showing where they give up tons of points, where they don't give up tons of points. And then the next graph that you could look at was Chet Holmgren's heat map, where he gets all of his points and where he doesn't get it. And it's basically like a full inverse of Portland, where Portland sucks, Chet smashes. Where Portland is good, Chet doesn't even really go there. So that's not changing anything for me, but it seems like the shot recipe that Portland gives up plays directly into the hands of Chet Holmgren for today.
I love that. They're also sloppy, so Chet can feast there with the blocks and steals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that call a lot. I mean, give me as much OKC as I can get, to be quite honest.
I completely agree. Let's hit 2 super chats here. One from Olrat. He said, If, hold on, what does B/O mean? Jordan, you have any idea what that means? If BO, anyone worth rostering off the bench for Portland and OKC? Oh, if a blowout. Got it. All right, just type blowout, man. That's
yeah,
not
that's
the way
like
you abbreviate blowout. Gotcha. All right. I appreciate you. No, I don't see anybody that I'm looking at Portland OKC and thinking I'm going to get this guy for a blowout. Certainly not from OKC. I mean, anybody can play for them for a blowout. Like Scoot is probably more likely to play a couple extra minutes if it goes wrong because they just don't have enough bodies, but that would not be something that I would be looking at. I assume you're on the same page.
100% same page.
And then Nicholas Lynn said, sorry, I got here late. What Pacers guys are the most underpriced with Halliburton out? Kind of just TJ McConnell. Like nobody else is really getting any love now that we have Andrew Nembhard in.
Yeah. I don't think anyone else is like severely. I think you could say Mathurin is underpriced for his upside, but you could say that about 100 players on this slate.
All righty. Let's go to the final game of the night, the late night hammer, the Battle of Los Angeles. It's the Los Angeles Lakers against the LA Clippers. Lakers are 9.5-point dogs, 234 total. And we got a boatload of ownership coming in. Boy, I wonder why. Oh, yeah, that's right. No LeBron James. AD probable, Jared Vanderbilt probable. We've got 55-ish% ownership coming into Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. We've got 45 coming into D'Angelo Russell. We're at 25 for AD and around 15 for Christian Wood and Taurean Prince. The floor is yours here. What are the things you like for Los Angeles? What are you getting to? Where do you have your eye?
This was kind of the elephant in the room when we talked about the rest of the teams on this slate. Like 4 of the top 5 guys in ownership, or 4 of the top 6 guys in ownership on this slate are Lakers. And with LeBron out at their price tags, just makes a lot of sense. Davis looks like the top spend-up option in my mind over Jokic just because of the price difference, the no LeBron factor. This should be a competitive game. A little worried the Lakers just get rolled here because the Lakers suck and the Clippers are really good. Yeah. So I think that like not playing AD, I don't think you have to play AD with Shea and Jokic there and Randall right below him, but he looks great to me. Russell's been playing really well. He's too cheap for Bron to be out. Same with Reeves. I don't feel good about Rui, but I didn't feel good about Nickeil Alexander-Walker last night and just played him because you have to play these guys that are so cheap projected for big minutes. Could he bust? Sure. But at 3,700, it just leaves you so much margin for error. He looks like the top value play on the slate. Actually, I like Precious more, but probably play both of them. So really it's no difference. The Lakers look great here.
Yeah, I've got Rui in 88% of my stuff. I've got Reeves in 60. I've got Russell with the field in around the 40s. I'm a little bit over on Christian Wood, which scares the shit out of me. I'm nervous about the Lakers offense being able to get anything done here without LeBron. Right. They are minus 5.6 per 100 possessions in game or with LeBron off the court, a 109.2 offensive rating. For example, on the season, a 109.2 offensive rating would be 29th. That would be in between San Antonio and Memphis this season. Only Memphis and Portland would be worse this year. So it's kind of tricky. James Perkins says, Hachimura barely plays 30 minutes. That's fine. I got him at 26. We got him at 27, and he's in 88% of my lineups at 26. He's 3,700 and small forward, power forward. I don't need him to play 30. I don't even necessarily need him to play 26.
If he were playing 30 a game with LeBron in, like there's no way he'd be 3,700 here. So it's not even, no.
Yeah. So don't sweat those minutes because of that price tag. You don't have to. But I think you just have to get to a ton of the Lakers. Like whether you prefer AD or Nikola Jokic, like you're happy to get either one of them. AD's power forward eligibility certainly helps out here. His barely seeing any negative leverage too, 24% optimal, 27% owned. I have no qualms for that one. But if you need value plays tonight, they're on the Lakers. And the good thing about getting to so much of Los Angeles today is that it opens you up for swaps throughout the day. If stuff pops up, if Utah does something weird, you're already probably booked into a bunch of Lakers and you're going to have a pretty easy time moving some stuff around. So I'm very happy to be getting to a lot of Los Angeles as well.
Which high-owned Laker would you be most happy to get off of if you had to choose?
Happy isn't the way that I want to say this, but
Sure.
I think it's AD, just because like if Jokic beats him, then right away like you're in trouble for AD. And that's the one where like you have a direct pivot of, the second first or second best basketball player on the planet right now. So that one to me is the easiest one to make. Not that I would feel great about it. Um if we're
It's
talking
just a
about
price
like
thing. I'm with you. It's just a price thing for AD. But
he has
outside
a
of
natural
AD,
pivot to someone that
right.
doesn't make me feel bad about getting it. Whereas like Rui Hachimura, if I don't want to have that $3,700 guy, I'm not finding a comparable $3,700 guy. It's probably Russell for me, just because I don't think he's going to find a lot of success dealing with all the wings that exist for the Clippers. You're just going to really need that shot to be falling today. And it doesn't appear that the shot falls all that frequently when LeBron James isn't around. So I think Russell would be the guy that I would be most okay with not having, with also knowing that he could just like the shot can just fall.
I think it's Russell for me also. Just a combination of what you said and then also your AD points. There are pivots in Russell's price range that might not project as well as him, but can certainly beat him on any given day.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson for one. And I like Russell more than Clarkson, but just as an example.
Absolutely. You want to close this out with the Clips?
Let's do it.
So the Clippers are obviously going to be without Ivica Zubac for a while. Mason Plumlee sitting here at 4,200, center only. He's 23% owned. We have him in for 24 minutes, barely a negative leverage play. I only went to 22. He is in 44% of my lineup, so I am finding him as a value center. And then, pick your poison on Harden, Leonard, George. If you have a preference between those three, I'd love to hear it.
I don't really. It seems like our tools do not like George nearly as much as the other two, which is fine with me. You don't need Plumlee tonight like you have on some other slates, but I still really like him. I will be playing him. Just that price point. He's a good DFS player.
Yeah.
Gives you late swap, flexibility if you want to go there. So I like Plumlee the most from the Clippers. I don't mind getting to like Harden or Kawhi. Harden might be my favorite. Just the tools like him a lot. He's coming in with nice leverage. So is Kawhi though. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's them two, and then probably George. I don't want to say a distant third, but in third. Now that he's the same price as Kawhi, basically more expensive than Harden. So that's why we're seeing that. Just give me Harden as my favorite, and I actually think Harden's a really good play, if not like a must.
Yeah, I've got 20% of Harden right now. I've got right around 10 of Kawhi, right around 10 of Paul George. I don't really mind which one of those. Like, I don't have a great feel of which one of those three guys I get. It's kind of like they're like the rich man's Pelicans in that, like, I'm happy to have Ingram. I'm happy to have CJ. I'm happy to have Zion. I don't really have a great preference for which one I really get. And it's the same thing here. Any one of those names show up in the utility spot and you're like, okay, that'll work.
Yeah, 100%. Any interest in Westbrook at all?
I don't think so. 6K, point guard only. The minutes, like, he sees them from time to time. Got 29 3 games ago. Got 31 in their most recent game. I gave him 24. We gave him 24. He's in play, unquestionably, because when he's out there, like, he's going to fill up the stat sheet. 1.28 fantasy points per minute over the past 30 days. I think he's just a guy that you can pivot that mid-tier to that isn't pulling a ton of, like, let's say you have a lineup with Colin Sexton in it that's very chalky. If you want to turn that into Westbrook as a GPP play, I don't think that's so crazy. That's a 29-5 ownership gap, and I don't think that it should be as extreme as it is. The starting point guard for the Jazz will also, maybe make that one look a little bit different. Same sort of situation for Jordan Clarkson there, who's 16% owned. Like, if you want to pivot a Clarkson lineup to Russ, I don't think that's crazy. He is rosterable today, but I have 2 shares.
Yeah, he's rosterable, but probably barely. He seems like the guy, and I haven't looked at his game log, but like if he plays 10 games, 8 of them are going to be not good at all at 6K.
Yeah.
One of them's going to be okay, and one of them's going to be like really, really good.
Certainly, this is the type of game that Russell Westbrook is going to get up for.
Yeah, and I know it's just, again, for me, I was just thinking about it in the context of what I said a little while ago, that you can play as many chalky guys as you want, especially if you have one like real low-owned guy like Westbrook will be. So he's like in that realm. I don't want to play him, but he's a guy that at really low ownership intrigues me.
Anything else you want to add?
Fun slate.
1 hour up, 1 hour down. NBA live before lock coming up next to the 2,300 people that are in here right now. Stay right here. Stream's coming up. Hit that like button so that you can see it. That's my new gimmick. We'll talk to you later. Enjoy live before lock. Good luck, everybody.
Rich is like, oh my God. Kindergarten.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to Stochastic NBA Live Before Lock. Do us favors, you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're sponsored by Sleeper. I'm not going to do much of an intro here, though, because last night, my friend and yours, Eric Lindquist, won the $15 on DraftKings. Came in first place, split it with a few people who I don't even know how it was possible that lineup was duped by a few other people. But that aside, Eric ended up winning last night, so I want to congratulate him. And also, want to give Eric the floor to talk a little bit about his lineup last night. Eric, what happened? You won a big GPP. I was very excited for you. Tweeted about it. Had texted you last night also. And want to get your input now. Tell us about the night.
Well, I mean, first off, we got Rich alongside of us here. He was doing the projections yesterday. I want to give him a special shout out because one of the fun things about doing this show in our new iteration with, having the 3-man booth there with Jordan Klein producing, it's so helpful to go through the process of things. And like being on the deeper dive yesterday, it was one of those things where I felt like I wanted to be really prepared for certain things. And I had a pretty good grasp of what I was going to do based on Tillman news, and then Santi Aldama starts, and I end up jamming that. And there were just a lot of really good things that I ended up reacting to. But Rich, without the Thad Young piece, that's kind of he's the one true hero of the entire thing, because I think we were higher in the industry for what his upside could be. Obviously, Jonte Porter going out, those are the kind of things you kind of need to have break your way sometimes. But yeah, I was surprised to see a 3% Thad Young lineup with, the pieces I had around him still duped. But you know what? At the end of the day, I was going through the Sims tool, just utilized it the same way that I do every single day. And I think the process has just gotten better and better. Our projections have been better and better. And I'm just very fortunate to be yet another recipient of good Simsness because, my God, the thing has been absolutely incredible lately.
Yeah, and so Eric can't do much better than first place, which is what Eric took last night. So we're seeing lots of people in the chat here. The entire chat is just full of people. Yeah, thanks. Just people saying a badass. Congrats, Eric. Congrats, Eric. Nothing but positive. Never seen this many positive messages come to Eric. We certainly don't see it on Twitter, but it is showing right here in the YouTube chat. So
I'll take it. I'll take it. They love me. They really love me.
So they show their true feelings. They really do love you, Eric. We like to troll you because it's easy to get a rise out of you, but truth be told, everybody was very happy to see you win a tournament last night. And today,
thank you.
You're gonna have to do it again now, and you're gonna have to tell all the people win a tournament, because what happens tonight, people will already forget about yesterday. So we got to get our nukes of the nights in order. We got to figure out what back play and all that.
Yeah, and then
belly to belly,
back to back AAU national championships. Yeah, Tom Amansky,
tip to tip.
Fred McGriff.
I'm taking this show very seriously, by the way. I've got my glasses on, so you knew that I meant business, and it had nothing to do with the fact that I have been on meetings and content since like 8 o'clock this morning. Didn't have time to put contacts in. No, it's because I want to look smart. I want to come prepared. I want to go, tip to tip with Eric and really take this slate head on, Eric. So
for once, no bridge jokes, no bridge jokes for me the entire time. No tip to tip jokes. No,
I made like 3 of them in one sentence.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did. Never mind.
Yeah. We've got super chats already, by the way. Super chats coming in, and let's see what it is that we have in store for us. Starting with a couple of guys here gifting out YouTube memberships, and then also Jordan, the questions that we have here, were any of them answered during last show? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the question from Nicholas Lim to start then. Nicholas is asking us, Nicholas Lim, sorry, got here late. What Pacers are the most underpriced with Halliburton out? So we do have Halliburton out. He's going to be out for, I believe it was 3 games is what the report indicated. Eric, are there any Pacers that you are prioritizing tonight, per Nicholas's question, that we should really be honing in on for the 5-game slate with Halliburton out?
No.
You would think that there should be guys that we're getting to. Look, let me look. Of all the players from the Pacers, who do I have the most exposure to?
I have 1 share of Miles Turner out of 40 lineups. I have 0 other Pacers. I don't think it's going to change.
My most rostered Pacer is TJ McConnell, is in 18% of my lineups, Eric. So I do have some TJ McConnell exposure. I assume that he's going to, I know that Nemard is back, but I do assume that we're still going to see a sizable role, at least for TJ McConnell. at the very least, there's potential for him to play big minutes. We can't guarantee it, but there's potential for him to get those minutes in. And with it only being a 5-game slate, TJ McConnell is the one who stands out the most to me. Now, with that said, he's in 18% of my lineup. So it's not like I have a crazy amount of him. I have 18% of TJ McConnell. I have 5% of Miles Turner. That's what Pacers exposure looks like. It has to be one guy. TJ McConnell has the most upside.
He definitely has the most upside. And if for anybody who's looking at minutes from last game, they got completely just nuked by the frickin' Suns. It was pretty absurd to watch. In that first quarter, they ended up benching everybody, bringing in like Jarris Walker, Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd, Jalen Smith, and Andrew Nembhard is like their main crew there. But yeah, Nembhard did not start there in that spot last time out. So I just want to point out that like if it is TJ McConnell, I bet I get to a little bit there. But right now, we've got I think it's kind of a lean towards Nembhard playing a little bit more, potentially being the starter there. So for me, I'm just going to have a tough time trying to get to anything there because of how good the Lakers look. And then there's just pieces of value that I'm going to be plucking from everywhere. Definitely the most unappealing team to me on today's slate outside of maybe the Blazers, but like the game environment there at least is interesting to me.
Yeah, you would think that it matters a lot that Tyrese Halliburton is out, and to an extent it kind of does. But keep in mind too, he missed time. Players are kind of already priced for that. It's not like we're getting a min-price TJ McConnell or anything like that.
Yeah,
Nembhard's been priced up at this point. Buddy Hield's been priced up. So TJ McConnell's the one I get to the most, and that's really it for me from that team. Yep. Chris Williams left us a super chat, just giving some congrats, Sir Eric. So because you won money, he's giving you more money. How does that make you feel?
No, yeah, you guys are the best. I mean, Chris is an OG. I mean, this guy's been giving out super chat or giving out subs like it's, like it's just free candy at Halloween. So the guy's the absolute best, but not in a creepy way. Of course, Chris, we appreciate you.
Yeah, it's like you were kind of going down. It's like, he's giving out candy like he's in a van and he's passing kids on the street. Like, let's ease up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll tone it down.
But he is like the DFS, and I mean this also in a positive way. Chris around here is kind of like the DFS Santa because he is always gifting out the presents, the YouTube memberships, getting us the super chats and all that. And he did also gift out 5 YouTube memberships. So Chris Williams gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. Malukar, he gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. So guys, thank you very much for the support. We do appreciate it. And then Ace of Spade wants to know favorite options for DK tiers. Eric, I know that you are a man who's won the $15 recent days. You're not. Are you above tiers now? You're not above tiers, are you?
I'm not above tiers. No. Right. They come to my face more often now. But other than that, no. I built out some tiers lineups ahead of time. I knew what was coming down the pipeline.
Tears of joy now for Eric. Tears of joy.
Tears of joy. There it is.
Tier 1 for me. That's got to be Jokic
by a mile.
And I know that Anthony Davis is in this tier. He benefits with LeBron James being out, but that doesn't make him.
Jokic. I have more Anthony Davis right now in my lineups, but for tiers, you're just playing Jokic and moving on.
Yep, I see it the exact same way. Anthony Davis is my most rostered spend-up option on the entire slate for classic contests. For the purpose of tiers, it should be Jokic in tier 1. Where do you go with tier 2, though? I've got Julius Randle here. You could certainly go with Jalen Brunson as well. There's LeBron in the tier. He's not really as much of a priority because he's out. Paul George also projects not quite as well as the guys from the Knicks. So Julius Randle for me, but do you see it differently?
Nope. Julius Randle.
All right. Tier 3, pretty cut and dry for me. Jamal Murray.
It is Lauri Markkanen for me.
Ooh, okay. Tier 4, I'm going to Zion, who I do think has some sneaky playing time upside. That's kind of hard to realize, but what do you get to in tier 4?
I have Zion and Chet within half a fantasy point, but yes, Zion Williamson.
So Zion's minutes, tricky to project because for whatever reason, the Pelicans don't play competitive games anymore.
Nope.
It's been such a long time. I don't know if you've noticed this, Eric, but
no, I talk about it on every single Liddy show ever. They've had one single-digit game in the last 10. It's the dumbest thing ever. They had a 5-point game against Dallas, and CJ McCollum was in foul trouble for that. And I keep trying to make CJ McCollum a thing, and I'm trying again today, it would appear. But like, it is absurd how many double-digit games. Every other game besides that one has been double digits in the year of our Lord 2024. Just indescribable, unbelievable stuff.
As a result, if you just look at the box scores of Zion Williamson, it would be reasonable to think, hey, Zion coming back from injury, they're trying to cap his minutes. And that may be true, but it's hard to know for sure because so many of these games have been non-competitive. The last game that the Pelicans played in, they lost by 14 points. Starters didn't finish the game. We got 33 minutes out of Zion in that spot. The game before, they play against the Hornets. Zion plays 27 and a half minutes, but the game was decided by 20 points. Zion rested the game before. Before that, game's decided by 22 points. Game before that, decided by 36 points. Game before that, decided by 33. They played in so many non-competitive games. Here's one encouraging sign, though. The game that they played against the Denver Nuggets, even though starters didn't close the game and we did see the Pelicans lose by 12, we got 35 and a half minutes out of Zion in that game, Eric. Now, we can't project him to go play 35 or 36 minutes, but the fact that the last relatively competitive game that they played in where Zion wasn't in foul trouble or anything, he did get up to the 35 and a half minutes. I think it's pretty promising for the upside of Zion's minutes, which makes him an interesting tournament option.
And of McCollum and of Ingram, I have more than the field on all three.
Now let's see what else we have in the following tiers. Tier 5, that is going to be CJ McCollum for me.
Same.
And then tier 6, going to Austin Reeves, benefiting with LeBron out.
Is Jordan Clarkson for me.
Okay. So there we go. Top tiers options at each tier. Thank you very much for the super chat, Ace of Spade. And then Phil Senzig says, nice work, Easy E. Oh, look at you. Easy E now. Is Easy E still alive or did he die?
I don't know, but people have called me Easy for my entire life, which is very ironic because I'm about as calm as a volcano that's just erupting. That's me. I can't control the volume of my voice.
All right, let me check Easy E.
Happy-go-lucky person.
So Easy E, I'm fairly sure Easy E is dead. What did he die from? Asthma? He died from asthma? That's
not ideal. That's not ideal.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, it's a weak oh no, never mind. He died from never mind.
Everyone
something else.
AIDS.
I don't know why the first thing I looked up said it was never mind. It was AIDS.
Jordan Klein coming in with hot fire today. Oh my gosh. That was Brody, my dude. I appreciate you. I think we've established he died from AIDS, if I had a guess from the chat.
Yeah, and guys, it's not nice to say that you hope that Eric has a similar fate. So don't throw that into the YouTube chat. It doesn't matter if you may or may not believe it. Don't say it. It's one of those things that you think you don't say out loud. But anyway, the super chat here. This was from Phil Senzik. Nice work, Easy E. So comparing you to Easy E here, and then he wants to know what's the lotion play of the night.
The lotion on the skin. Lauri Markkanen. He's going to be the nuke too, so we'll just
my God.
Do all the Lauri Markkanen talk later.
Look at you, just getting bold and throwing out your guys already.
No, it's hard to get different with like a spend up on today's slate because like I love Anthony Davis and I love Nikola Jokic, but so does everybody else, and we have value. You can get him at the small forward. For me, that's kind of like the key to the whole thing. I'm going to have a metric ton of this dude, which is unfortunate, but here we are.
Let's see. Who's somebody that is... Oh, you know what? I'm getting quite a bit overweight to Nikola Jokic tonight, and there is value in the front court. I mean, we've got Precious Achiuwa to go to, but if we could have a small slate, which we do tonight, where Nikola Jokic is projected for modest ownership because Mason Plumlee is picking up ownership, Precious Achiuwa is picking up ownership. Yeah, give me a low-owned Nikola Jokic on a small slate. 16% Nikola Jokic.
Useful.
I am double the field on him. So that is going to be my lotion play.
And it's not like we don't have value coming up later. I mean, we'll have a talking point for sure on Rui. I'm very curious to see what you have to say about 66% Rui that's gone up throughout the day. But like, I find Taurean Prince to be a fun guy for tournaments. I'm a fun guy. I like the game of basketball. He's going to be playing that guy.
Anytime that you could do the laugh, you try to shoehorn it in. I like it.
Yeah, because apparently it's good. I don't know how, but there we are.
Let's see what
Jordan Klein is like, nah, bruh. Nah.
Let's see what else we have here. We got a super chat from Jade Truong. Jade is asking us for our favorite play at each position on FanDuel and a follow-up. Congrats, Eric. That is from Jade Truong.
Thank you.
Here. Do you have lineup built out for FanDuel or just DK?
Yeah, we can do FanDuel too. I built out some lineups for FanDuel. I'm just not playing there today.
Okay. Yep. I've got lineups here. So we can go back and forth position by position. Point guard, I'm going to go with, for FanDuel purposes, TJ McConnell's only 5,200. He looks really
For
strong
sure
on FanDuel.
Yeah. FanDuel, completely different play. I would be playing a lot of him on FanDuel.
Shooting guard, that is going to be Austin Reeves.
Yep, Austin Reeves, not close. And same thing for small forward. So the next guy that I would have is Kawhi Leonard, considering he's 8,600 over there.
I am going to go with Rui Hachimura at small forward. Power forward, I'm going to go with Zion.
Yeah, it's going to be Zion there.
And then center, I will go with Precious Achiuwa.
It is.
I swear to God, if you do what I think you're about to do, I will not be happy.
Precious.
No, I thought you were going to do the stupid sneeze thing.
Oh, no. I do that all the time. Sorry, Rich. Sorry.
Is that going to be your answer at center?
Chet Holmgren.
Okay, next question here. It is
Psyched you out there.
SC. SC has left us a super chat, and he says, congrats, Eric. Happy to see that for you,
Thanks, my guy. Thank you.
SC with the super chat there. And then James Magruder for DraftKings side of things wants to know who our favorite plays at each position are for DK. See, let's get into DraftKings, where I do think the two sites look quite a bit different for tonight. So I like that we're getting this question for DraftKings and for FanDuel so we can differentiate a little bit. For point guard for me on DK, that is going to be D'Lo, getting some extra usage and playing time with LeBron out. Shooting guard, for similar reasons, I'm going to go with Austin Reeves.
Same.
Small forward, this is going to be a lot of Lakers, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Lakers for me, but whatever. It is what it is. Small forward, Rui Hachimura.
It is Jalen Williams for me.
Ooh, look at you. Jalen Williams. I didn't get to a ton of them. So
I have like virtually no Rui right now.
Okay.
Which we'll revisit. I want to talk about it with Rich for sure.
Okay. Power forward for me, that is going to be Hachimura.
It is going to be not Rui again. Precious Achiuwa. I didn't do a joke. There you go.
And then center, Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it's a lot of Lakers. It's a 5-game slate. There aren't that many teams to choose from. There aren't that many crazy good value spots. And LeBron is out from this game. So it is really hard to not really prioritize some of those Lakers. Now, with that said, you said you're not playing any of Rui tonight. So I want to know why.
I didn't say any of Rui. I said I'm underweight to the field on him, and he's not my highest owned at the position. I might have
misunderstood. Yeah, you weren't playing him.
Nope. I said I had virtually none at the moment, which is probably going to change here in my next run because I have a couple of things that I'm just very, very curious on, because you look at FanDuel and DraftKings, and obviously the complexion is both has changed quite a bit here, but like I am of the mind that like there are a lot of ways to play guys that aren't the dude who's pulling 66% ownership with the most negative leverage on a slate. And we've seen a couple of these spots recently in the $15 and like the biggest iteration tournaments, especially like single entry for sure, where they come in with like that Craig Porter Jr. type ownership, where it's just like, oh, it's a free square, 65, 70%. I think Rui has some major volatility because of one guy and one guy alone. And that's whatever Christian Wood does here. Like, I think there's a huge opportunity to just play the ownership game between Christian Wood and Jared Vanderbilt. And there's a good chance that they just go to a hot hand approach on whatever is vibing the most with Anthony Davis. And Rui's going to get the first crack at it, but he's also pulling 65% ownership to a Jared Vanderbilt's 1. And there's a chance that that could flip. There's a chance that Christian Wood comes out at 3,400 and plays alongside Anthony Davis, which isn't like crazy to think about here. I mean, he played 18 minutes blowout run last time. Hard to really take anything out of that. But like, there are ways that it gets a little bit different than what people think. Because, I mean, LeBron James, we've only seen it 4 times this season. And you've seen 40 minutes basically every single time by Anthony Davis, which can eat up the front court. And it's like, whoever vibes with him the most in this spot, if it's going to be competitive, that's where I think you want to go next. Like Rui potentially can close in a game that's getting blown out. They're 9-point dogs here. Like there's a chance that it can go that way. But like, I feel like this is one of those slates, considering it's the last game of the night, where I have no problem also just turning all of that Rui $100 more into Taurean Prince and just taking my shots there. He's a much worse fantasy point per minute guy, but he's in that starting rotation. He's projected for more minutes, and he's a game of getting hot from 3 away from surpassing Rui Hachimura. That's 1/4 of the ownership. So Rui is a piece of chalk on this slate that I totally get that you could play 100% of him and move on with your life and have it be that easy. I'm kind of more inclined to go the opposite direction.
Are you assuming he starts or comes off the bench?
I'm assuming he starts. I said he's going to get
Okay.
the first crack at it. I assume that he starts, that he's going to be that fifth starter, and we continue to see the D'Lo, Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, Anthony Davis, and then you just slide in Rui to play LeBron. And obviously they're very different human beings, but like there's a chance that if this thing gets a little bit lopsided here early, that they could just go to Jared Vanderbilt very, very quickly. They could go to Cam Reddish, who we're projecting for around 20 minutes. Like there's ways that it's just a hot hand approach rather than having Rui out there for 28 minutes. I guess that's just my opinion on it. It's going to be basically a glorified home game for the Lakers, even though it's going to have a Clippers floor. But like, I just think this is a ton of ownership for a guy who's far more volatile than what is currently being shown around the industry. Like he's got a 19.5% usage. Like you'd assume that would be, 20-ish% here in this spot, but like, God, Taurean Prince should play more. Cam Reddish is going to be in the rotation. Like there's just tournament shots I think are really interesting. And I guess I don't really have to make that choice until we get to that game, but like, I want to at least throw out the idea, Rich, that like, Rui Hachimura just feels like somebody that you could actually get away from today. I'm not sure how you go about your process looking at it in the Sims tool because, like, there's obviously a minute's upside there. He gets out there and puts up 40, and then I'm just drawing dead for the evening. But, like, how do you look at a 70% owned Rui Hachimura tonight?
First off, if he doesn't start, he almost becomes unplayable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're assuming that he's going to start, but if you guys see that he's not starting, then I would try to swap off as soon as you can. The other thing I want to say is that on DraftKings, Rui is small forward, power forward eligible, and Simone Fontecchio is also small forward, power forward eligible, and he's $100 cheaper. Pretty similar plays. Obviously, Rui projects better right now, but Fontecchio can easily outscore Rui tonight, and he's getting 14% ownership compared to about 5 times more on Rui. So right there's like a pretty easy pivot off of Rui if you wanted to, regardless of if he starts or not, just talking strategy here. But definitely if Rui doesn't start, I would just swap right off him because the ownership's still going to be there. There's going to be a ton of people stuck with Rui at that time of night.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think Taurean Prince is somebody that's going to start no matter what. So like people can get the 100 at small forward to get there, but if he's in a power forward spot, that might be more difficult. If they don't have the $100, that becomes more difficult. So there's a lot of ways where, yeah, you're right. You're going to be stuck on a Rui. So again, I'm not sure. They're obviously dogs. I think they want to have shooting out on the floor. Rui gives them the best chance to potentially do that. But like, I don't know. It feels like a spot that it could be a lot of other guys. It just becomes like a hot hand approach where it's like, hey, Jared Vanderbilt had a good rotation. He's actually knocking down corner threes, which is something he did in Minnesota. That was his only offensive utility with us back in the day. So I'm just having a tough time at this kind of an ownership on a 5-game slate with some early value that I think is actually pretty good. Precious Achiuwa we talked about. Josh Hart is somebody that I'm a little bit overweight to at 4,500 in that mid-range, but wanted to at least voice that I'm not feeling the best about a 65% Rui because that's just a lot of ownership.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, and I just have a different pivot from you. So I am playing Rui, kind of like last night we were talking about some of the cheap guys from the Timberwolves, and the way that I played last night's slate, I played a lot of Kyle Anderson, I played a lot of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and then I was different with some of my pay-up options. So for today, I look at my lineups, and it's like I'm well overweight to field on Nikola Jokic. If that's the case, with Nikola not being projected for a ton of ownership, well, I can play some of these chalk value options because my lineups are still going to be a little bit different looking, kind of in a way that I tried to prioritize Luka for last night's slate, which if you would have told me going in that Luka was going to go out and score 80 plus fantasy points, I'd be like, boy, that must be a great pivot off of Joel Embiid, 80 plus fantasy points for Luka. And then obviously Embiid scores north of 100 fantasy points. But for me, the pivot that I like the most from the Lakers is Christian Wood. And it's if we're looking at all these guys and not knowing exactly how the minutes are going to break down, what we do know is that Christian Wood is the best fantasy producer of guys like Rui Hachimura, Taurean Prince. So the player that has the most upside that isn't one of these cheap guys that's projected for a ton of ownership, it is Christian Wood, because if he gets the minutes, he's the guy who produces the best on a per minute basis. So that's the pivot I like, is Christian Wood.
I'm with you. I'm well overweight to Christian Wood today, 3,400. I'm also overweight to Mason Plumlee in that game. You have Achiuwa with power forward eligibility. Like, there's a lot of ways that I can change my value. And it just feels like the entire industry and everybody is just de facto saying 3,700. He's going to play 28 minutes, and we're going to be putting him in for more fantasy points than anybody sub 4K, which is probably correct when it comes down to it. But like, I'll take the entire range as opposed to a guy who's in 2/3 of lineups.
Understood. Yep. And with that said, let's go ahead and play the animation, Jordan Klein. Hit it, because it is time for Nuke of the Night. Eric, coming off of his massive win in the $15, is going to give out the Nuke of the Night to you guys. So, Jordan, let's do it. Eric, from the victory circle, it's Nuke of the Night time. I won't even mention that his ball sack is about to be blown off here, because he's a man of dignity.
You just did.
No, I didn't mention it. I said I wasn't going to mention it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't bring it up.
There you go.
Nuke of the Night, Eric. Coming off your win, how are you going to try to go back-to-back and win the $15 for consecutive nights? Who are you picking today?
So in the vein that I'm talking about, where I'm talking about flipping the build, I'm legitimately, building out some stuff by hand and taking a look at like the Sims tool. One of the beauties of it is I can see who some of the players with the highest ROI are. I can kind of see like in these iterations what you should be going to, but I can also see like, a lot of lineups showing up in optimizers as well in Sims tool. Power forward, center. It feels like people are going towards the Rui side of things for that. That's where I'm kind of going more Achua, Mason, and then so on and so forth down the line. But I talked about it a little bit on the front end. Small forward is a position I'm looking at kind of flipping the build. And Jalen Williams, I have the most of him at small forward right now. But the guy that I'm the most interested in getting way overweight to the field on is Lauri Markkanen at 8,100. He also has small forward eligibility. He's going up against this Pelicans team that, again, they have not played a competitive game whatsoever. And if this one is competitive, I'm overweight to a lot of the Pelicans, those three main Pelicans to be exact. But as I work through everything, this is a guy who's going to be around a 1.3 fantasy point per minute producer. He's 1.28 throughout this entire season. And now the minutes have gotten to a place where I think in close games, you're going to see 36 type minute upside here for Lauri Markkanen. And I don't know if they want to be moving it, but 36 and 39 minutes, when you start putting him in at 1.25, 1.3, that's a ridiculous number that it feels like is underrepresented with his current ownership and just $8,100 price tag. So we have him in for 33 and a half minutes, but I repeat, if this game is competitive and it fits my builds where I'm overweight to these main Pelicans, for the first time ever, maybe we get a competitive game here, you're going to get massive minutes from a guy who is undervalued on this slate. He's cheaper than the likes of Jokic, Anthony Davis, who I definitely like on this slate, but I'm looking at getting a little bit different at small forward, getting away from that Rui ownership. There we are, friends. Lauri Markkanen, Nuke of the Night.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zion Williamson here. We talked before about how difficult it is to nail down his minutes projection because of the fact that the Pelicans are just in constant blowout type situations. However, we can't expect every game to be a blowout. And if you look at the spread for tonight's game, 7 points, it's within the realm of spread. Like if a game is a 7-point spread, you don't expect it to be a blowout. So people might look at the game against the Utah Jazz. Also, Utah's been playing fairly well over the last month and a half at this point. So I think this is a competitive game. And in a competitive game, there is a chance we get 36 or so minutes out of Zion Williamson. And his price is really at a floor level on both DraftKings and FanDuel. I can't imagine a month from now that Zion will only be $7,400 unless something goes wrong with his health, which, that's live to happen. But assuming good health, he's going to be more expensive than this going forward. Playing time upside, give me Zion at $7,400, Eric.
No gumbo, Zion. No gumbo. We're good, buddy. Just chill. You're doing great. You're doing great, my guy. You're a dookie. I love you. Stop it. Just play basketball and be awesome at life. And also, maybe be honest with the women you're dating. Anywho, that's all I got to say about that.
Speaking of Dookie, did Duke get any nice rewards from your GPP win yesterday? Any new toys for him?
We'll see. He was being extra sweet last night. He just kind of I think he knew that Daddy might have been richer than what he was when he walked out the door the evening. I ended up going and meeting up with some buddies and having a drink to celebrate. But when I got home, he was just extra sweet. And it's like, oh, he wants the good kibble. So we're going to get him the good kibble. That'll be good. No gold collar. I saw that showed up there in chat. But yeah, Duke will definitely have something fun coming his way.
Nice bone.
Oh, yeah. You can get a bone. He can get a bone.
All right, there we go. Eric knows how to treat a puppy. Next super chat that we have here is coming to us from Michael Pavlik. who's saying paying forward to all the free memberships that he has received. So Michael Pavlik, thank you very much for the super chat. We appreciate it. And then Chris Williams says we could answer it later on the show, but wants to know top 3 options in DK for the Clippers Showdown. So I have been building out Showdown lineups ahead of the shows now, anticipating this question from Chris Williams. So Chris, Lakers Clippers game, there are some very clear captains we want to be getting to in that Showdown game. Chief amongst them is Anthony Davis. He is just by a mile the best overall Showdown option in that game. Following up by that, if you're going to pay up for somebody from the Clipper side of the game, Kawhi Leonard, I think that is your best bet to pay up from the Clipper side. And if you're looking to save some salary and a way to also make your lineups maybe a little bit different, I think Austin Reeves is somebody who could certainly be getting to. And then if you do want to punt, then you could look at like the Rui Hachimuras, the Christian Woods of the world. But top 3 captain options, I'm going to go Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and Austin Reeves. Those were the 3 that I got the most of when I ran lineups for just for you, actually, Chris, because I was anticipating that question. But thank you very much for the super chat. And now the next question is from Corey Shea, wants to know who are our favorite 4K players and under for single entry?
Christian Wood. That goes in the category. I mean, I'm not saying that Rui is a bad play. I'm saying that he is somebody that I'm going to undercut because I'm just, well, we'll see. There might be some lineups that are smashing and I'm like, all right, maybe I can eat the chalk and get away with it. You never really know. And obviously we want to see what that starting lineup is, but under 4K, Christian Wood's definitely at the top of the list for me. Some Taurean Prince because of minute security, even though he's a shit fantasy producer. Yeah, those are the 2 off the top of my head here as I'm looking at it. I can't imagine I want to get to like any Peyton Watson today. Kelly Olynyk is at least in play, but I'm not going to probably end up there in 40 lineups. That does it for me. Yeah, I'll give you Wood and I'll give you Prince.
Okay, so for me, I mean, I'm going to go Wood, Prince, and Hachimura. It's hard to not consider Hachimura one of the top sub 4K plays on the entire slate. Yep. So, you know, he's going to be chalky, but it's warranted in my opinion. I do expect him to start. And then Taurean Prince and Christian Wood, they're both sub 20% owned. Those are some ways you can differentiate in lineups that don't have Rui Hachimura. So that's my answer for you there, Corey. And we got news here, Eric. Pacers starting lineup is out. Andrew Nembhard, Buddy Hield, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and then Miles Turner, which means what? TJ McConnell ain't starting. How does this change how we approach McConnell?
Nothing, because Rich nailed it entirely. He had McConnell at 21 minutes the whole time. He had Nembhard starting the whole time. So if you were a member here at Stokastic, you don't have to do one damn thing. Is that correct, Rich?
Yes. Sorry, yeah. I added I added a little minute on the Nembhard and took off 1 minute. McConnell still pretty much the exact same place though. So
yeah, he crushed it. So it's a beautiful thing to have that work out. I was like, that does make sense to me. I was kind of expecting that to be the case as a result, and that is what came to fruition. So yeah, luckily for us, we don't have to change absolutely anything besides the 1 minute that is going to be going on both sides of it. Does that make Nembhard interesting to you at all, Greg? Is Nembhard somebody that you actually want to click on?
Not at his price point. He's I like Nembhard as a real life basketball player. He's just not all that great of a fantasy producer. It would be one thing if Nembhard was still really cheap, but he isn't. We're paying, like, Nembhard's price is comparable to TJ McConnell's.
Yes, it is. I have my final run, I think, of what I'm going to be getting to here. How much did I end up with when I updated that and put Rui at? Yeah, I got 8% Rui Hachimura. This is going to be a disaster for me.
Okay.
Absolute disaster. I do not recommend doing what I'm doing. And maybe it's just like fancy play syndrome or anti-fancy play syndrome, where it's like, oh, way to go. You had an absolute free square and you just talked yourself out of it. But like, I'll be mad if he ends up being like 55% owned. I will be ecstatic if he ends up like 70-ish% owned, like 65, 70. I'll be ecstatic.
So I have a kind of theory on winning GPPs and how it might impact your play and why it is a benefit to you going forward. There are a lot of times there are situations you'll look at and you'll have a game theory optimal play to make, but you know, there's a lot of variance in DFS. There are upswings, there are downswings, and like earlier in the year, I had the best stretch of DFS I've ever had to open up.
You were the hottest DFS player on the planet. Now it's Tom, but you know,
no, I mean, you won yesterday, so it's you.
Yeah.
It's whoever won yesterday.
So it's me. I'm the hottest one on the planet. There we go.
Yeah. both visually and then as well from your recent DFS play.
Thanks,
So
babes.
one thing that happens as a result of that, though, is I do think it's easier to make game theory optimal risks if you're coming off a stretch of like, hey, I just won, right? It's sometimes harder to make those risks or take those chances if you've been in a little bit of a downswing. So
good point.
That's kind of my follow-up to you saying that maybe it's fancy play syndrome. To me, it's like you've seen something you think there's a potential edge on, and you're maybe more willing to act on it today than you might have been even yesterday or 2 days ago.
That's a really that might be the sharpest thing you've ever said in your damn life, which
it's the glasses.
Shit, it's the glasses, yeah. Nerd ass Greg becomes it's like your Super Saiyan version of you. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I'm choked up. That was beautiful.
So let's go ahead and look at the rest of the super chats, because I don't think we're going to be getting any more news over the course of the show. But, you know, if anything happens post-lock or after the show, I'm going to be hanging out in Discord all night. Rich will be in Discord if anything weird happens with the Lakers starting lineup. And you guys can sign up for any stochastic package using the links we have. We'll get access to the tools that help Eric win all of the money last night. Sign up using the link below. The most affordable package is the lineup generator. That is less than $15. You can get lineups that are built for you, but it also includes our player projections, our ownership projections are in there. And it also gets you access to our Discord channel. But if you want to sign up for the Sims, which is what Eric used to build his lineups and simulate them last night, there's a link for that below as well. Next super chat here is from Minnesota Jur. Minnesota Jersey says, calm down, Lindquist. We all know you are the man. And then 3 top plays for FanDuel, please. All right. So overall, top 3 plays for FanDuel, Eric.
All right. So here's the thing. I still think TJ McConnell's a good play on FanDuel. I don't think you should be second guessing that one. 5,200 is just drastically different. And we know that steals upside. He just does silly things from time to time in that regard. And more often than not, he's getting you a floor of a couple of those suckers. So I would go him. Austin Reeves is very, very clear and obvious. And obviously, if I'm going against the Rui Hachimura side of things, 4,500 is actually a little bit more appealing to get away from, I think, on FanDuel. Torian Prince, 4,400. You could make that direct pivot as well, or you could just play another Laker that isn't Rui, get to like 4 Lakers, and you can't play 5 on FanDuel anyway. So D'Lo, I'll throw him in the mix as well.
I'm going to add my guy Zion as well. I really like Zion Williamson today.
I do
so
too.
That is somebody who I'm going to throw into the mix as one of my favorite FanDuel options. Go ahead and play yourself some Zion Williamson on FanDuel and DraftKings, but really get to him a whole bunch in the FanDuel lineups I've built. Jorge Jacomi says, best and worst plays for today. And then also, congrats, Eric. Let the subs reign in celebration. Who are the best and worst value options tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to do some kind of a giveaway. I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do something to show some love. Probably have a card or 2 thrown up for the people out of Sleeper or another pick'em site, something of that nature one day here. I will go with... Find this here. Where'd the question go here?
It's best and worst value plays of the night. So you can
I'm trying to
whatever you want.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was any salary there. Best play of the night, period, is Precious Achiuwa for me. And worst play of the night.
Yeah. So
it's so weird because it's not like I think Rui is a bad play. That's always kind of the weird thing. I'm way undercutting him, obviously, but like that's a calculated risk. It's not saying that he's a quote unquote bad play. I will say the worst play is it's so hard out of like the chalk options because there's not like bad chalk. I will say Jalen Brunson's just somebody that I'm not getting to. I would like to. That would be great.
Well, it's
he's a good
best
play.
and worst value plays. I don't know.
If value, just value. Okay. I'll go TJ McConnell and DraftKings, the worst value play now.
Favorite value plays. I can't believe Precious Achiuwa is in Uber chalk today.
I have nearly 100%, so that's fun.
But I'm saying that he's projected for sub 30% ownership. Like this isn't
That's
somebody
wild.
who's projected for 50% ownership or anything like that. He's not projected for the Rui Hachimura ownership. So I do think he's going underrepresented by the field. That makes me think of him as the best overall value option on this slate. As far as the worst, worst value option on this slate. That's tough. I guess I'll agree with you and go with TJ McConnell because he's somebody who I think the field is still going to get to at a pretty good clip, even though his role is changing a little bit here. So I'll agree with you. We go with TJ McConnell for the worst value of the night. And now Jalen Verse wants to know any tournament pivots from the chalk on FanDuel. Any FanDuel GPP pivots we should be looking at, Eric?
Take a look here.
I feel the same way as we did about some of the pivots over on DraftKings. So if I look at the lineups that are built out on FanDuel, we've got sub 20% ownership on Taurean Prince. That's a reasonable way to get away from Rui Hachimura. And then same with Christian Wood is projected for 0.3% ownership. I know he's $5,300, so that's certainly a loftier price tag over on FanDuel, but there's still pretty clear upside for Christian Wood. His price definitely makes him less of a good points per dollar play, but it doesn't impact his ceiling. There's no ownership going to Christian Wood. That's probably my favorite pivot for FanDuel purposes.
I will throw out Anthony Simons at 7,400. He's 7,300 on DK, but 7,400 is more advantageous for FanDuel purposes. I think that's a pretty low tag. A guy who's got double the optimal percentage of his current ownership. Sliding more of him into your lineups, or Brandon Ingram, both of them pulling quite a bit of positive leverage. Don't completely hate that. And then Andrew Nembhard, if you're going to play him at 4,700 on FanDuel. That's a tournament guy that I think you want to maybe up some exposure to, because on DK, if you're playing both sites, again, it's harder on shows to be able to do things the way that I want to. I used to play every single site on these shows and kind of trimmed it down just to, be more manageable, not be a crazy person. But you're looking at Nembhard being a far more advantageous play on FanDuel.
Yeah, I could certainly get behind that as well. And then Jalen Verse left another super chat, which says, you two are the shiznit. Congrats, Biggie. So another congrats there.
Thank you.
And then Coley Poston, but a lot of super chats today. Coley Poston is asking, can AD, D'Lo, and Reeves all get there in the same lineup? Yes, especially only on a 5-game slate.
Yep. I have lots of that.
Ryan Nelson says, Eric is a beautiful human. Success will continue. Look at that, Ryan Nelson. Thank you for the super
chat. It's like a fortune cookie. I love it.
And then James, I've never seen that in a fortune cookie. Fortune cookies say things that seem insightful, but then you think more about
Go F yourself, San Diego. Yeah, a little bit of that.
James Magruder, $3,800 or less for utility. Who should he play? For $3,800 or less, I am going to say Rui Hachimura. If you already have Rui, then Christian Wood.
There you go. That'd be the 1-2 for me.
Eric Herman, DK GPP options. Who stands out for stars and scrubs? Yeah, so the Lakers guys for cheap, right? If you're going to save money, Taurean Prince, Christian Wood, Rui Hachimura, those are the ways to go. If you're spending up, Anthony Davis to be on the chalkier side. I like Nikola Jokic from being contrarian and spending up.
I am with you. Yeah. Jokic, how much Jokic did I end up with? I don't think I got as much as I was hoping for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 out of 40 right now. That's not ideal. I might have to give it a little bit of a boost up here before we finish out.
Yeah, I'm uploading the final version of my lineups. I am playing Jokic in single entry, by the way, as well.
Are you really?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am, sir.
I need to probably get to some. Just have so much Plumlee. I'm punting at center is kind of like, I think that's actually kind of exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of getting away from the Jokic, and I'm playing Christian Wood. I'm playing Plumlee. I'm playing Achua. I'm playing those absolute dum-dums that are going to ruin my lineups. And well, Jokic goes for 80. As I found out yesterday, every single stud goes for 80. So congratulations on the W.
That was the highest ceiling games I've ever seen. Like, we didn't even if Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Kyle Anderson had big games, it would have been a ridiculously high scoring slate. You needed them anyway because you just need to fit in the studs, and those were the cheap guys that ended up being good. But yeah, if they had 30 it would have had zero impact on the outcome of the slate if they each scored 30 fantasy points, but it would have made the lineups just ridiculously high scoring. So yeah, I feel the same way about some of these Lakers guys for tonight. If we see studs go off and have big games, the cheap guys that are in lineups from the Lakers are just going to be necessary. Chris Albers wants to know thoughts on Jericho Sims. So the problem with Jericho Sims is that there is a lot of good value in the front court. If this was a big slate, I wouldn't be playing Jericho Sims at all. He made his way into a couple of my lineups today, but nothing really all that significant. I prefer getting the Lakers guys for cheap. I prefer getting to Precious Achua. He's a guy that exists, but not a priority.
Chiu's a fantasy, just a little over a fantasy point per minute guy. Huge difference.
And now CJ the Great is asking us thoughts on TJ now that he's not starting. Yeah, somebody who I don't like quite as much coming off the bench. He is in. So since I've updated my lineups, I have McConnell in 8% of lineups for me.
I have him in 0.
Next question is from Daniel Koenig. Wants to know lower on Rui and D'Lo because of the crying trade rumors. Makes no difference to me.
None.
Corey Shea wants to know Wood and Hart or Plumlee and Prince. That's Plumlee and Prince for me.
Plumlee and Prince for me.
Smokey Bear, how much are you fading the first game on DK?
I'm not.
I'm
playing only Denver.
Yeah, I'm not fading it at all. The Pacers side of the game is not nearly as appealing as the Denver side, but Jamal Murray, big ceiling. Nikola Jokic, big ceiling. They're playing against the Pacers. Pacers played a ridiculously fast pace. The game is 237.5 total. Sure, they do play at a slightly slower pace with Halliburton off the court, but no, I think you want to be getting some exposure to Denver, especially because there aren't some influx amount of players who are questionable in the injury report. So play Denver today.
What
Andrew Williams left us a super chat. There is no question, though, so let me check to see if he put a question into the chat. Here it is. Dinwiddie or McConnell as the last man in on DK? Oof.
Dinwiddie or McConnell?
I'll go with Dinwiddie. I don't like either of them all that much.
Yeah, I'll go Dinwiddie as well. I have a little bit of Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie was something that was popping a little bit in the Sims tool for me. I kind of intertwined him in some ways I like.
All right, let's get to Discord now and answer as many of these questions as we can. But first, let you guys know that Sleeper is the sponsor of the show today. And if you guys want to go check out Sleeper and sign up now, you know why you should do it? Because they are going to give you over 0.5 points for SGA as a prop to play today. And the only way to get access to that is to sign up at Sleeper using the link we have below. If you're already an existing customer of Sleeper, it's no good. You have to sign up now using that link. And that is what is going to get you access to that over 0.5 points for SGA. So great value. Take advantage of it. It's a free square for tonight's slate. So let's bang out as many of these questions as we can in Discord. I wish we would have gotten to these sooner, but just so many questions. Overwhelming amount of support for Eric. And Captain Akella wants to know who our favorite single entry play is for today. That is Jokic for me.
Christian Wood.
And then we've got a question here from M. Grizzly wants to know, who are we most overweight and underweight to in tournaments? Overweight to, that is Precious Achiuwa for me. It's crazy that he's only projected for like right around 30% ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you most overweight to?
Precious Achiuwa by a mile. I have 90% of him. And
then most underweight to, I mean, there's a bunch of guys who are around 10% projected owned that aren't making their way into my lineups. But like Josh Giddey is somebody who I don't get exposure to. Chris Dunn is somebody I don't get exposure to. How about yourself?
Yeah, I have no Chris Dunn. I have obviously Rui is the big one for me where I'm just different than everybody. So yeah, those will be the two.
Next question is from Strixstein71, last man in for a DK GPP utility, 4,100 and under. I am going to go with Christian Wood there.
Yep, Christian Wood. He is important to me today. He is important.
Malcolm Revamp left us a super chat. He wants to know, can we show the Sims lineups for both sites? Jordan, I know there's only a few minutes left here, but if you could run some quick Sims right before we get to lock and throw them up on screen, it would be greatly appreciated. If you could run some for FanDuel and DraftKings, put them up on screen, show some people some of the top projected lineups in the run that you get to. Next question here is from Cream, and he is giving me an update on the status of Eazy-E, which, yes, we have come to find out that he met an unfortunate ending. Eazy-E.
Yeah, it got awkward.
Eric M. wants to know who's our favorite DK single entry play. Hit on that before. That was Nikola Jokic for me. Cream, Giddey or Reeves. Easy Austin Reeves for me over Josh Giddey.
Very much so.
S. Reese 11th is asking, is fading Lakers beside Rui a dumb move? Yeah, I think you want to get exposure to the Lakers today. If you're fading them, it's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah, it would be bad.
Next question is coming to us from Gangrene. Gangrene is asking us Fontecchio or Dunn on DK. That is Fontecchio, or as Eric says, Fontecchio.
Fontecchio! Oh, we got it back. Oh, it's me, Simone. Yeah, that was something that obviously, I mean, Rich brought him up there earlier. This is a guy that will knock down a three from time to time. His three props are always kind of lingering in that 2.5 range, or 1.5, I guess it was, with plus money earlier. And now it's kind of been lingering back and forth between the two of them. He's played 29 minutes back-to-back games. The minutes are coming up, 3,600. Just saying, I have a little bit.
And then a JEW, favorite plays for FanDuel single entry, and why is Anthony Davis so low on there? So AD's kind of been priced up as if LeBron wasn't going to play. He's 11,400 on FanDuel. So that's the reason that AD isn't as popular on FanDuel as he is on DK. But I think he's a good play. I think he's well under-owned on FanDuel. Other single entry plays I like quite a bit. Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Zion Williamson, some guys to build around over on FanDuel. And then Tim Lee is asking us a 2v2, Jokic and TJ McConnell, or okay, so it's okay, I understand. So Jokic and TJ McConnell, or Dinwiddie and then Lauri Markkanen / Jalen Brunson. It's tough. Of all those players, I like Jokic the most. I'll go Dinwiddie and Brunson.
Yeah, it sounds right. I'll back it up.
Iron Maiden 2, rank the Lakers on DK. Yeah, let's rank the Lakers. All right, so if I go to my Lakers exposure.
Okay. It is, for me, D'Angelo Russell 1, Austin Reeves 2, Anthony Davis 3, Christian Wood 4. Yeah, I've got 5th Rui.
I'm going to go Rui, Russell, Reeves, Davis, Prince. I actually have Wood and Prince in the same here. So Rui, Russell, Reeves, Davis, and then like a tie between Wood and Prince. Next question that we have in here, super chat just came in from Gray. Prince or Rui, not considering ownership. And then he also says, congrats to you. If ownership doesn't matter, then Rui Hachimura.
Then definitely Rui, yeah. Again, for me, that's kind of a calculated thing. Also be on the lookout. I think Walker Kessler starts tonight, just throwing it out there.
Sotex wants to know Zion or Siakam. I really like Zion today. He's in over 40% of my lineup.
I like Zion too.
And then Cream wants to know, can we play Jokic and SGA in the same lineup? I don't have very much SGA exposure. I don't have an issue with them being together. There's just other options I get to before SGA, probably because I'm getting to Jokic.
There you go.
I have SGA in 13% of my lineup, so underweight to him. And the next question that we have is from RLO Rolls. Chet or Claxton. That's going to be Chet for me. I'm just going to answer as many of these quickly as I can. Go. Tim Lee, thoughts on going balanced lineups? Wouldn't do it today. Too much value on the cheap end with LeBron out. IC50 is saying that he's fading Jokic. Should he be playing more? You don't have to. Jokic isn't all that popular. I'm playing him to get overweight to him, and it's a matchup against the Pacers where, you know, he has a lot of upside, but I don't think that if you're not playing Jokic, you have to play like Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray or anything like that. All right, we're at lock. We got through all of it. Right as we got to lock, we answered the final question. So guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to sign up for a Stokastic membership, hang out with myself, hang out with Rich. You could ask Eric questions as well about anything that he's doing with his lineups. And Lee's in the chat all the time as well. You could ask us questions throughout the night. We've been sweating the games as well. Sign up for any Stokastic package using the links that we have below. Get access to our player projections, our ownership projections, and then also us in the Discord channel. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Peace out.